Hello, friends, and welcome once again to the amazing world of English literature. Today, we are going to look at a poem that was once a staple of classrooms and public recitations, Somebody's Mother by Mary Dow Bryan. It's a narrative poem, meaning it tells a story. It is in simple language, but it carries a powerful message about empathy, compassion, and the quiet dignity of everyday people. So let's have a look at the poem. The woman was old and ragged and grey, and bent with the chill of a winter's day. The streets were white with a recent snow, and the women's feet with age was slow. It's simple in its language, but carries a powerful message about empathy, compassion, and the quiet dignity of everyday people. So let us have a look at the poem. It's a long poem, so I'll explain the poem as we go by. The woman was old and ragged and grey, and bent with the chill of a winter's day. So look how the poet sets the mood right at the beginning, and also notice the fall of the accents. The woman was old and ragged and grey, so it denotes that melancholy with the falling accent. So we are talking about an old woman who's ragged and grey, which means years have worn her down, and she's bent with the chill of a winter's day. It's very cold, so this is America in which it's set, and the setting is of a winter. So she's old and she's also bent, as old people tend to bend with growing physical weakness. The streets were white with recent snow, and the woman's feet with age were slow. So it's been snowing in this place. So it's been very cold, and for old people to go out in such cold conditions, of course, is a harsh experience. And so she's walking slowly. At the crowded crossing, she waited long, jostled aside by careless throng. So she is at this crowded place where lots of people are crossing, and jostled aside is when somebody elbows you like that while you're walking in a crowded street. So because she's old and infirm and the able-bodied people walking across, she's slow, so people are pushing her aside. And throng means a crowd, a multitude, and people are generally careless when they're going about their business, when they're in a hurry to go to their workplaces, and so on. Of human beings who passed her by, unheeding the glance of her anxious eye. So obviously she is anxious because she's being pushed around. She could fall. So she is very anxious about standing in that crowd. And unheeding means careless. So people are careless about her anxiousness, and they're just pushing her around and going about their business. Down the street with laughter and shout, glad in freedom of school let out. So we see that a school has just ended its day. So students after school, as they run out with glee and humor and the sense of freedom. So this is the situation that she's standing at crossroads near a school, and students are rushing out from the school. Come happy boys like a flock of sheep, hailing the snow piled white and deep. So this is a very vivid picture, and look at the imagery in the poem, which is also so precise that you can almost imagine what is happening. So all these boys rush out like a flock of sheep. So imagine a group of boys dressed in white uniform. So from above, if you were looking through a drone, they would look like a flock of sheep. And there's snow, so there's white and white, and they're walking through this snow and enjoying, throwing snowflakes around and so on. Hailing the snow piled white and deep. So the snow is deep, and they're playing in it. Past the woman, so old and grey, hastened the children on their way. So the children are hastening, they are in a haste, in a hurry to go home, and they are going past this woman who is so old and grey because after school they're just in a hurry to get back home. None offered a helping hand to her, so weak and timid, afraid to stir. And in all this, the poet notices that all this crowd of young people and students, that nobody is offering a helping hand to her. And she's so weak, and she's also timid, which means she's afraid. She's afraid to move because there's so much movement around her, and so many able-bodied people, she is anxious that she may fall, lest the carriage wheels or the horse's feet should trample her down in the slippery street. So, what happens in snow also is that the streets become very slippery. When the ice melts, it becomes very slippery. So, if you've ever, like on a slippery floor, the whole street becomes slippery like that. So, lest the carriage wheels or the horse's feet, so she's afraid that there are carriage wheels. So, this is 19th century we are talking about. So, there are no cars, there are horse carts. If she is on the road and the wheel may go over her feet or the horse's feet may go over her feet and trample her. So she's very afraid in all of this, is what we have seen throughout. At last came out of the merry troop the gayest boy of all the group. So amongst these boys, the gayest boy, which means the happiest boy in 19th century, he comes forward. He paused beside her and whispered low, "I'll help you across if you wish to go." So the boy offers the old lady and whispers to her very politely that I think you want to cross the road, so I'll help you do that. He paused beside her and whispered low, "I'll help you across if you wish to go." So very politely this boy whispers to her that he will help her to cross the road. Her aged hand and his strong young arm she placed, and so without hurt or harm, he guided the trembling feet along, proud that his own were young and strong. So the little boy helps her with his strong feet, guides her to the other side of the street. Then back again to his friends he went, his young heart happy and well content. So he goes back to his friends and he is very happy and content that he has helped somebody. And what does he say? "She is somebody's mother, boys, you know, for all she is aged and poor and slow." So this is so thoughtful for the boy to think that she is somebody's mother like his own. And then he says, "And someone sometime may lend a hand to help my mother, you understand." And so he makes this linkage that the old lady is somebody's mother, like his own mother. Somebody will help his mother. And so he is more than willing to help somebody else's mother. And this is the law of karma. The more good deeds we do, the more good deeds come back to us. And anyway, we should help the poor and the infirm selflessly. That's the message of the poem. So the boy says, if she is old and poor and grey, so he's talking about his mother, that someday she will be old and poor and grey, and her own dear boy so far away. So he may have gone for a job far away, and she is in the city, old and poor and grey. Then it will be some other young man who will help her cross the street. And so we have to build a culture, that's the message, of helping those who are in need. Somebody's mother bowed her head. So now the tone shifts. Somebody's mother is the old lady because she's been referred to as somebody's mother by the boy. Somebody's mother bowed low her head in her home that night, and the prayer she said. So she was very happy and content that she had been helped by a young man. And in prayer she said, "God be kind to that noble boy who is somebody's son and pride and joy." So she prays for the little boy who is somebody's son and pride and joy. So if everybody helped everybody like this, we would accumulate blessings, the society would run smoothly, and we would all be very happy. That is the main theme of this poem. Now let us have a look about the author. Mary Dow Bryan was a 19th century American writer born in 1816. While she wrote novels and other works, she is best remembered for this single poem, which was first published in 1878. It became an instant sensation. Think about the same period. This was an era before social safety nets, before widespread social services for the elderly or the poor. The poem's focus on individual acts of charity and moral instruction resonated deeply with the audiences. It was reprinted in newspapers, recited in schools, set to music. For Mary Dow Bryan, somebody's mother became her legacy. A very simple story that captured the universal truth and became a part of popular culture for generations to come. So, once again, to recap, let us dig into the heart of the poem. What is Brian really writing about? First, she is writing about compassion and indifference. This poem sets up a stark contrast. The first half is dominated by the careless throng and human beings who just pass her by. The crowd is indifferent, too busy, self absorbed to notice the woman's anxious eye. This indifference is a form of social failure. Then we have the gayest boy, the happiest boy, whose simple act of kindness shatters that indifference. The poem argues that compassion is an active choice, one that requires us to pause and truly see another person. Second theme is empathy and the golden rule. The boy's motivation is the key. He just doesn't help to be nice. He reframes the situation. He tells his friends, she is somebody's mother. This is a powerful act of empathy. He imagines her not as a ragged and grey stranger, but a person with life, a family, a mother, just like his own. His final line, if ever she's old and poor and grey, referring to his own mother, and her own dear boy so far away, is a direct appeal to the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to treat your own loved ones to be treated. The final theme is the dignity of the individual. Despite the focus on the boy, the poem also insists on the woman's humanity. She is not just a passive act of charity. In the final stanza, she is given her voice, a home and interior life. She prays, transforming from somebody's mother into an active subject who bestows gratitude and blessing. The poem's title itself is significant. She is not defined by her poverty or age, but her fundamental human connection. She is somebody's mother. Now let us look at the new words that have come in this poem. Ragged, which means torn and worn out clothing, indicating poverty. Throng is a large, densely packed crowd, like I said. Unheeding, not heeding, showing no care or attention. Oblivious. Lest means for fear that. Lest I fail the exam, I must study. Content, in a state of peaceful happiness or satisfaction. Now let us look at the literary devices. What are the interesting ways in which this poem has been written? First is imagery. As you would agree, the poem is rich in visual and tactile imagery. The opening line uses cold imagery, bent with the chill. The streets were wide, slippery street. This establishes the woman's vulnerability and weakness. In contrast, the boys are associated with warmth and life, laughter and shout, glad in the freedom. This contrast highlights how the setting affects each group differently. Another interesting figure of speech is simile. The boys are described as coming like a flock of sheep. So whenever you see the word like, it's a simile. So this is an interesting simile. It suggests that they are a group moving together, perhaps thoughtlessly. It makes the one boy who breaks away to help stand out even more as an individual who thinks for himself. So these are the messages. Now why don't we do some activities? The first one, the poem gives us the woman's prayer at the end, but we don't hear her thoughts during her struggle at the crossing. So why don't you write one short paragraph, interior monologue from the woman's perspective, how she is thinking, what she is thinking as she is jostled by the crowd, what goes through her mind when the boy offers his arm. This helps us practice empathy and consider the dignity of every character. Second activity, somebody's in today's world. This is a discussion activity. The poem's central idea is reframing a stranger as somebody's mother. How does this concept translate into our own world today? Let's brainstorm. Who are the people in our community who might be overlooked or jostled aside? It could be an elderly person, a new student, a custodial staff member, or someone experiencing homelessness. how can we apply the somebody's principle? Like she's somebody's grandmother, he's somebody's son, and so on, to encourage acts of kindness in our own school, our neighborhood, our lives. Think about it. So, in conclusion, Mary Dow Bryant's Somebody's Mother is more than just a sentimental Victorian poem. It is a reminder that every person we pass by has a life, a history, and people who love them. It challenges us to move from being part of careless throng to being the gayest boy, someone who sees a need, acts on empathy, and finds that in helping others, we enrich our own humanity. There's a very beautiful song by Leonard Cohen titled Please Don't Pass Me By. Find that song, listen to it, let's develop our empathy. So it was great to have you for this poem. Until the next poem, next story, thank you very much. Namaskar.